Not who do I want to pass on the issue to because I don't feel like doing it, right? That's not leadership. Leadership is doing hard things. Leadership is leading, right? You can't shy away from doing hard things because if you do, then you're not a leader. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders navigate interpersonal and organizational complexities for greater instructional impact. Now, today we are going to be talking about the power of delegating to the right team in real time. And the reason why delegation is so important as a school leader is because when you are dealing with a complex situation, whether it's interpersonal, whether it's organizational, and somebody brings an issue to you, you have to have some sort of framework as it relates to how you are processing the information and how you're going to deal with the situation. Because if you don't, then you could arbitrarily be making decisions on behalf of a particular department that might be better suited to handle the situation. And so you always want to be a leader who shows that you are willing to not be in control all the time and actually lean on the people who have an expertise in areas that you don't. And the way that you do that is by having a framework in mind. And we'll get into that in a few minutes, but I think it's important to be able to delegate. Not that you're passing off a task to somebody else because you don't want to do it, but you're passing it off because they can handle it better than you. And so when we talk about some sort of framework, some sort of way of processing information, it really helps me to think about that in terms of the different teams and departments that exist within the building. And depending on whatever context that you lead, you are going to have people who have areas of expertise based on their skills, based on their gifts, based on their talents. And you want to be able to tap into those people to provide you with an informed decision so that when you go back and to be able to process and handle situations with other people, you can now say and reference what somebody else has told you. Or you can even pass on the situation to a different department that we'll get into so that they can handle the situation in a way that is best for children, right? So when I think about our 6 domains of effective delegation, right, the 6 teams that you most likely will be able to delegate things to, I'm thinking about number 1, which is administration, right? So for me as an assistant principal, administration would be number 1. Number 2 is secretaries. Number 3 is safety and security. Number 4, school counseling and social work. Number 5, child study team. And number 6, the custodial or maintenance staff. So when it comes to these 6 domains, these are the domains in terms of like the way that I'm processing information as I'm hearing it in real time. So if an issue comes to me, I'm thinking about, okay, is this something that I can solve? Is this something that secretaries can deal with? Safety and security, school counseling, right? Child study team, the custodial staff. I'm thinking about who is best suited to solve the issue. Not who do I want to pass on the issue to because I don't feel like doing it, right? That's not leadership. Leadership is doing hard things. Leadership is leading, right? You can't shy away from doing hard things because if you do, then you're not a leader. This is about delegation in terms of who is best suited to solve the issue. So if I'm hearing something as it relates to a disciplinary issue, some sort of conflict that's happening, most likely I'm going to solve the issue, right? Not just me alone, because it depends. If the situation is heightened, if it's a little more nuanced, then I might loop in one of my colleagues that's on the leadership team, right? My fellow assistant principal. If it's a situation that's egregious enough that has to go directly to the school principal, I'll do that as well, right? So you have to be processing how you're going to deal with some sort of conflict, because conflict doesn't always mean that it's a code of conduct issue, conflict could also mean that it might go to our school counseling department. So as you're hearing an issue that's brought to you from a teacher, from a parent, from a student, whoever it is, you need to be processing to figure out who is best suited to solve the issue. And again, number one is administration. Can I solve the situation on my own? If not, we might have to delegate to another team. Let's say that there's a logistical situation where a teacher they want to have a parent conference meeting in the conference room, right? Who would be best suited to solve that issue if I'm hearing that in real time? I'm thinking about one of our secretaries. Why? Because they have a master list of who is in the conference room during different periods of time, right? So I'm thinking about that in real time. Okay, I'm hearing that you want to reserve the conference room. Who do I go to? I'm going to one of our secretaries. Number three, let's say that there is a situation where a student is reporting that there's a propped door on going to safety and security. We need to go check it out, surveillance the situation. Do we need to check a camera to see who propped the door, right? Do we need to, at some point, just make sure that we're doing walkthroughs in that particular area just to make sure that everybody is safe. As I'm listening to this information, I'm thinking about the framework. I'm thinking about who can best solve this situation. School counseling or social work issue, right? Is there a problem if a student is reporting an issue to a teacher and the teacher then reports it to the main office that there's a situation happening at home with a student, right? Is this something I'm going to solve? Most likely it's not. Most likely I'm going to then delegate that situation or have a conversation with one of our school counselors or one of our social workers. I'm going to have that conversation with them, and then they can direct me if they're going to take the situation over, or they can inform me on how to best handle that situation. Our child study team, right? Is there an academic situation happening with one of our students with an IEP, one of our students that needs a paraprofessional with them? Is this a situation that I'm going to handle? It could be. But most likely, as I'm listening to what's coming, as I'm listening to the situation, I'm thinking, okay, our child study team is going to be able to handle this one. So I'll loop them in. I'll have a conversation with them. And lastly, I'm thinking about if there is a situation that's happening, particularly in the classroom. Let's say a tile fell while a teacher was teaching, or let's say that it's a little bit cold in the classrooms and we need to figure out how to turn on the heat, right? That's not something that I'm going to necessarily solve on my own. That's something that I'm going to loop in one of our custodians, right? We might have to call maintenance. We have to figure these things out. And so the reason why I came up with these 6 domains of effective delegation is because when I'm processing, when I'm hearing this information, when a teacher is bringing me an issue, I'm listening, and I'm actively listening, and I'm being reflective and thinking about, okay, which team is going to be able to handle it. A sign of being a great leader is not you thinking that you can handle things on your own all the time. It's you tapping into the greatness of other people and allowing them to show their gifts, to operate in their greatness, to operate in who they are. And the way that you do that is by knowing your different teams. It's by being observant. One of the ways that you can show that you're not necessarily an effective leader is by thinking that you are responsible for solving every single issue in the building, because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You are not responsible for that. And I think that when it comes to being a new leader in a new building, even if it's not a new building, if just you being new in your role, I think one of the mistakes you can make is trying to solve every issue on your own. Right? And then even if you don't solve the issue on your own and you find yourself delegating to other people, the issue can be that you feel a little bit insecure about not being able to solve the problem, not realizing that you are actually operating in effective leadership, because people would rather have an effective answer. They would rather have you go back to somebody on a different team and be able to solve the issue, as opposed to giving them an answer just because you want to sound like or seem like that you're actually leading. But leadership is about delegation. Leadership is about tapping into what other people do well, because when you do that, you help other people shine, and that ultimately is going to foster trust. It's ultimately going to allow people to see that you are collaborative, that you are not just a person that's going to do things on your own, but you are a person that's going to tap into other people's greatness. And so as you step into the role of school leader, I always want you to think about that. I want you to think about how you can utilize other people and their expertise in areas where you need to grow. I hope that this video added value, and if it did, share it with somebody else. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.